Thank you very much, Apurva. And Krishna. So I welcome all of you. Thank you very much for coming for this second part 2 of the seminar, Shiksastakam. But also I would like to take this opportunity to thank His Grace Gauranga Darshan Prabhu. Unfortunately, this is going to be the last class, public class for our devotee congregation. Prabhu is going to give for this visit, this Melbourne Yatra. He will be leaving to Perth on Friday morning. But thank you very much, Prabhuji. And we request you to keep coming every year like this. Maybe make it twice a year, that will be. Once in the middle of the year, once in the end of the year, or whatever is convenient for you. Please come. Sorry, Apurva and Anusha. I suddenly forgot Anusha. Thank you, Anusha. And Krishna Yadav. Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. With the head continue. The essence of what we are going to discuss now is Kirtane Sada Hari. Kirtan program also.
Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
In the previous session, we discussed the meaning of the first two shlokas of Shikshastakam. The first shloka describes 7 effects of Sri Krishna Sankirtan. The second shloka describes 3 qualities of Krishna's name. Now the third shloka describes 4 prerequisites to be able to chant Krishna's names effectively in Sanskrit. That is the subject matter for today. And if possible, we'll discuss 4th shloka also. The 4th shloka describes 5 obstacles in bhakti. Shall we have a quick recap of the 2nd shloka? We didn't have that. Or shall I start the 3rd shloka directly? Is Krishna is ready for recap? Yes. What are the different types of names of Krishna?
So, Mukhina and Gauranga, and Mukhina is divided into further 2 parts, which is Aishwarya and Aishwarya and Madhurya.
Okay, excellent. So what are the 3 qualities of Krishna's name? Welcome, Balramji. First time I'm seeing you in the last class.
Powerful, accessible, and emperor mercy.
Powerful, accessible, and merciful. Holy name is powerful, accessible, and merciful. And we have discussed many stories connected with it. One important aspect of the mercy of Krishna's name is Atayeva Namamatra Vaishnavera Dharma Nami Prasphutita Haya Rupa Gona Karma. So just by chanting the names of the Lord, we'll get entrance into or access into Krishna's Rupa Guna Leela. So, but the last line of the 2nd shloka is Durdaiva Mitrishamiha Jani Na Anuraga. Although the holy name is very powerful and accessible and merciful, our Durdaivam, our misfortune is we don't have taste for the holy name of Krishna. How to destroy this misfortune of lack of taste for chanting Krishna's names? 4 things. Trinadapi Sudhichena Darorapi Sahishnuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sada Harihi. Trinadapi Sudhichena means to become humbler than a blade of grass. Tarorapi Sahishnuna means to become more tolerant than a tree. Amanina means being completely freed from false prestige. Manadena means to offer respects to everyone. Then Kirtaniya Sada Hari, then we will be able to constantly chant the names of Lord Hari. Glorify Lord Hari. This is the simple meaning of this shloka. All of us know, very often quoted shloka. But there is so much of depth. Even in the book, you see, this one shloka, which is the smallest shloka of Shikshastakam, occupies the major portion of the book, entire book. Because that also we have to restrict ourselves a lot. So each quality has so much depth. And even in these 4 qualities, what are the 4 qualities? Pranadapi Sunichana means humility. So in the Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami's Caitanya Charitamrita, we see that Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami gives other terminologies for these 4 qualities. One is Sunichatva, humility. Second is Sahishnutva, tolerance. Third is Amanitva means freedom from false prestige. Fourth is manata, offering respect to everyone. Sunichatva, sahishnutva, amanitva, and manata. So four alternative and simplified and smaller terminologies for you to remember. So each quality is so deep. And of these four qualities, which is most important? First one, humility. When we have humility, we automatically tolerate all kinds of inconveniences in our lives. When we have humility, we automatically respect everyone and we don't expect respect for ourselves. Right? If we are not humble, if there is no humility in us, we expect respect from others. Right? So humility is the source of other three qualities described in this shloka. Humility is the foremost. Now let's discuss a little bit about humility. Even if we discuss only on this quality of humility for the next 1 hour or 1.5 hours or 1 week or 1 month, it is insufficient. In fact, the Acharyas compare humility with love of Godhead. Right? So one who is very mature in one's love for Krishna has maximum humility. Humble person, humility is also called Dainya. So Dainya and Krishna Prema are not different from each other. One has deep Dainya or deep Prema. Who has the maximum Krishna Prema, tell me? In the entire cosmos, Radha. She is most humble. Because she has maximum love for Krishna, she is most humble. I don't remember the Bengali here, but anyways, there is a shloka that says that the gopis of Vrindavan are most humble devotees and they are the topmost premi bhaktas of Krishna, and amongst all of them Srimati Radharani is the topmost. Her humility is so much that she considers any one of us or any other devotee better servant of Krishna than herself. And she recommends all of us to Krishna. She says, Krishna, this devotee is better than me. Please accept this devotee. Right? So this is the humility of Srimati Radharani. She is not just saying it like in a poetic manner. It's not a poetic expression. It's not some kind of formality with which she is saying, oh, this devotee is better than me, just accept it. She means it. She literally means that she is not such a great devotee in comparison to other devotees whom she is recommending. So one who is really humble doesn't consider oneself great despite being so great. Now, let me just share. What is the first line? Tranadapi sunichana. Trana means the blade of grass. So Mahaprabhu is not recommending that we become humble like a blade of grass. He says, become humbler than a blade of grass. Tranadapi sunichana. It's not a tranadiva sunichana. Tranadapi sunichana. What is this? First let's analyze the condition of a blade of grass. Right? A blade of grass is on the ground. Right? Small. Maybe few inches tall. If you step on the blade of grass, it doesn't retaliate. It doesn't protest. It doesn't kick you back. It doesn't hit you back. So you stamp on a blade of grass and you move ahead, and the blade of grass will allow you to stamp on itself, and again it will just kind of stand for another person to come and step on it. That is blade of grass. That is the condition of a blade of grass. Can we increase the volume a bit, if possible? So a blade of grass's natural constitutional position or natural identity is to be grounded. So we also have to be grounded in our bhakti. In our spiritual life, we need to be grounded. So the blade of grass is having a natural identity or natural ego to be so much connected to the ground, right? But why is Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saying that we should be humbler than a blade of grass, not humbler like a blade of grass? Because the quote-unquote natural identity or ego of blade of grass is very, very natural. But oftentimes our identity, our sense of identity in this material world is often inflated, unnatural. A blade of grass is grounded, it is very natural for the blade of grass. When somebody stamps on it, it just allows one to stamp. But our ego is not even natural like that, right? Our ego is so inflated, so artificial, so puffed up, and we take pride in certain identities which have nothing to do with our core inner spiritual self. So we may identify ourselves as brahmachari, grihastha, vanaprastha, sannyasi. We may identify ourselves as brahmana, kshatriya, vaishya, shudra. We may identify ourselves as leaders, or students, or doctors, or engineers, or actors, or whatever it is. But all these identities have nothing to do with our original, natural, constitutional, eternal identity as servants of Krishna. It has nothing to do with our Swarupa. All the sense of artificial identities we have nothing to do with our core Swarupa as servant of Krishna. Jiva Swarupani Krishna Nityadas. Therefore, many of us are in very, very unnatural ego. We have unnatural ego. That's not natural ego. And whatever little ego or sense of identity, the blade of grass is very natural. Therefore, Mahaprabhu says, be humbler than a blade of grass. Not be humbler like a blade of grass. So there is one more explanation for this. Why we have to be humbler than a blade of grass. So blade of grass is naturally very insignificant. Right? If a blade of grass is cut, trampled upon, like nobody loses anything in this world. It doesn't make any significant difference to this universe, right? Even if a blade of grass is cut or trampled upon. Right? But a Vaishnava is very exalted. Despite being so exalted and elevated and accomplished, still a Vaishnava chooses to be humble. Right? So the blade of grass is not significant. Therefore it is insignificant, it is humble. But why Mahaprabhu says, be humbler than a blade of grass? Despite you being so powerful, still you should consider yourself insignificant. Blade of grass is naturally insignificant. Right? Therefore if you consider yourself insignificant, it's nothing big deal about it, not a big deal about it. But a devotee is generally very exalted, especially very advanced devotee. So despite being so elevated, they are considering themselves insignificant, and that consideration, that consciousness is called humility. You want an example? Pratapurudra Maharaj. Uttama Raja kare tuchha seva. He is Uttama Raja. He is the most exalted human being in that locality, but he is doing tuchha seva, very insignificant service. Uttama Raja kare tuchha seva. So if we don't have anything, if we are not so qualified, we are not in a very great position or power, fine. We can be humble. But despite being very powerful and influential, still, if we consider ourselves insignificant, that is humility. Same thing with tolerance also. But before we enter the zone of tolerance, let's talk a little bit about tolerance. Why Mahaprabhu is saying Taror api sahishnuna? One version is Taror eva sahishnuna. But another version, higher version is Taror api sahishnuna. Be more tolerant than a tree. Then you are a Vaishnava. Be more tolerant than a tree. What does it mean? If you throw a stone at the tree, what will the tree do? Tree will give flowers and fruits and leaves. Right? And tree will tolerate all sun and gives you nice cooling shade. Tree will tolerate all cold and it will give us warm wood. We are living on a wooden over here. And tree will tolerate all the rain, and whenever it's raining and you don't have an umbrella, you just go and stand under a tree. At least some shelter will get. So tree will tolerate all kinds of natural calamities, and tree will give so much service to the humanity. So tree does not ask for water, even if you don't feel water. Even if you cut the tree, cut a branch of the tree, cut a leaf or whatever, flower or fruit, the tree will not protest. So tree doesn't request and doesn't protest. No request from tree's side, no protest from tree's side. However you deal with the tree, tree is tolerant. Even if you cut a branch, even if you throw a stone, tree only gives us fruits and flowers. Right? One way of looking at it is, tree has no ability to retaliate. Tree has no ability to throw a stone back at us. Right? Therefore it has to tolerate. See, if we exhibit tolerance when we don't have the ability to retaliate, that's not tolerance. If we exhibit tolerance despite having the power to retaliate, that is tolerance. You want an example? For humility we have given the example of Prataprutra Maharaj, Uttama Raja Kare Tuchha Seva. So for tolerance, let's take the example of Parikshit Maharaj. Parikshit Maharaj was cursed by a small 5-year-old child to die within 7 days. Isn't it? Parikshit Maharaj had the ability to counter curse that child. He is also powerful. He has the ability to reject that curse. Just because you curse me, that does not mean I'm not obliged to accept that curse. He can reject that curse. Despite having the ability to reject that curse or counter curse, he tolerated that urge to curse. And he effortlessly tolerated. Therefore, Taror api sahishnuna, not Taror iva sahishnuna. You have to be tolerant like a tree. But the highest standard is you have to be more tolerant than a tree. More tolerant than a tree. Right? See, chanting the holy names of Krishna is not that easy. To constantly chant the names of Krishna, we need these 4 qualities. We need humility. Am I humble? Sometimes we have this question. Why am I unable to chant? I can do many services. I can study Shastra. I can even teach Shastra. But no, chanting is very poor. Why? There is no humility. There is no tolerance. We don't have genuine respect for others. Or we are expecting so much respect from ourselves. There is so much prestige, false prestige. Our desire for name, fame, adoration, power, position. Therefore we cannot chant. As simple as that. Yeah. Humility and chanting are very much connected to each other. Right? And just like Naam and Prem are connected to each other, and in the beginning of the class we discussed that Prema and Dainya are connected to each other, therefore Naam and Dainya are also connected to each other. So chanting Krishna's Naam is very much dependent on how much Dainya we have, how much humility we have. Right? So that's why Mahaprabhu is emphasizing so much, Taradapi Sunichana, Taradapi Sunichana. So Mahaprabhu says, you just tie this shloka as your kanthimala, right? You have this kanthimala. So this is Pranadapi Sunichana shloka, supposed to be Pranadapi Sunichana shloka for all of us. Means that's how important it is, without which our whole spiritual life will not progress the way it is supposed to progress. You want so many, there are so many examples of humility. Hanumanji is so powerful, but he is so humble also. So there are multiple facets of humility. One facet of humility is to consider oneself insignificant, especially in comparison to Krishna and his devotees. So Krishna, you are so great and I am insignificant. To realize one's insignificant position in comparison to Krishna is humility. Right? And it's very natural to understand it. But there are multiple facets of humility. When I am humble, I will naturally be grateful. If there is no humility, I will not be grateful for all the spiritual privileges that I am getting. I think I deserve it. Right? I deserve this respect. I deserve this treatment. I deserve these privileges. I deserve this position. I deserve to be the boss of 10 people. I deserve a certain treatment from them, they need to be obedient to me, they need to be submissive to me. So whenever we think we are entitled for certain privilege or position of power, that sense of entitlement is exactly contradictory to the quality of Vaishnava humility. Sense of entitlement kills our gratitude. Lack of gratitude is lack of humility. Humility and gratitude are very much connected to each other. They are non-dependent in one sense. In fact, humility is connected to all kinds of Vaishnava qualities. So, one facet of humility is gratitude and no sense of entitlement, no demand for any self-respect, respect for oneself, right? And humility also means malleability, flexibility, adaptability to various circumstances. Right? If we are not malleable and adaptable to various circumstances, if we want situation to be in this way only, let things go my way. I cannot accept any other way. There is no humility there. This material nature will make us humble. This whole material nature, this entire material existence that Krishna has created for us is meant to make us humble thoroughly. We don't want cold, but Krishna gives us cold. Nature gives us cold. We don't want heat. When they are living in India, you don't want heat. When they are living in Melbourne, you don't want cold. You live in India in April and May, my God, they are like in oven. Like when you enter car now, you are putting heaters. When you, on a sunny day in April or May in India, if you enter car, there is a natural heat inside. Sometimes when I had to enter car, I just open the car and then stay for a few minutes and then enter. Otherwise, once I enter, you are in like oven. You become pizza. Within few minutes. You will be cooked up. Similarly, the material nature also is meant to cook us up and just make us humble. If we are not naturally humble, Krishna will create us in this artificial atmosphere of material nature and make us humble and make us humiliated. And humility will be born out of that humiliation. That is Krishna's plan while creating this material nature. Don't think that Krishna has thrown me into this material world, allowing me to undergo adhyatmika, adi bhautika, adi daivika kleshas. The other day we were discussing Bhava Mahadavagni, right? Don't think that Krishna just threw me into this ditch of material nature. He has a plan. It's not that he is neglectful to us. It's not that he is unkind. He is very, very kind in throwing us into this material existence and giving us threefold material bliss so that we become humble. And we become humbly dependent on Krishna. When there is no humility, we don't have a sense of dependence on Krishna. We feel independent. And who is kept in this material world? Who comes to this material world? Whoever feels that I am independent of Krishna. I am dependent on myself. There's so much of self-reliance, right? I don't need to depend on anybody. I am self-dependent. I am the master, I am the controller, I am the doer of all my activities, I am the proprietor, I am the enjoyer. So when this kind of mentality is there, where is the possibility of humility? So because we have this kind of mentality, this Purusha Bhava or Ishvara Bhava, Ishamani syndrome, in Bhagavatam's language it is called, it's a disease called Ishamani syndrome, considering oneself as Isha, right? Controller. So such people who have this Ishamani syndrome are given an opportunity to live in this material world and exercise their controllership, exercise their doership, exercise their enjoyership. And when they are frustrated in their attempts to enjoy or control this material nature, lord over this material nature, they become humble, then they can surrender to Krishna. Big plan, master plan, behind this creation. The purpose of this creation is to make us humble. Yes. But if we voluntarily choose to become humble, Krishna's job is very easy. Let's make Krishna's job easy. Let's not trouble Krishna's troubles. Poor Krishna, how many people he has to make humble? He has to make every single living entity humble. Even the living entities and abominable species of insects or ants or even frogs, there's some ego there. Frog ego. Right? Ant ego. Ant is small, but the ego is gigantic. Right? Ego is like an elephant. Elephant ego, tiger ego. Living being within human species or non-human species has an ego, which is totally contradicting Vaishnava humility. Haridas Thakur, when he was about to die, he was very, very sick. Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu went and asked Haridas Thakur, what's the matter? Why do you look so weak? Then Haridas Thakur said, my dear Lord, my body is perfectly alright, but my mind is not alright. What happened? I am unable to chant. My 182 rounds. 182. Not 4, not 2. Right? So 182, I am able to chant 182 rounds. Mahaprabhu said, you are so old now, you can reduce the number of rounds. Will be ecstatic. If somebody comes and says a new standard is 8 rounds per day, oh wow, I am the new initiation was an updated figure, only 8. Will be ecstatic, right? So he asked him to chant, minimum 8 rounds. But Haridas Thakur said, I am unable to chant 192 rounds and not Caitanya Mahaprabhu said, you can reduce the number of rounds. Mahaprabhu said, to Namacharya, he says, no, I cannot reduce my rounds. But anyways, my dear Lord, you are about to wind up your manifest Leela in this world. I don't want to be alive witnessing that Leela. Kindly allow me to leave this world before you leave this world. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, if you are not there, who will give me association? How can I survive in my bhakti? Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, he means it. You know what Haridas Thakur said? My dear Lord, don't keep me in illusion. Why are you keeping me in illusion? If an insignificant insect dies, what difference does it make to this universe? I am more insignificant than that insect. If I die, how can it affect your devotional service? My only desire is, I want to keep your lotus feet on my heart. And I look at your lotus face with my eyes and say, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, and depart from this world. Mahaprabhu said, Tathastu, and he fulfilled the desire. Haridas Thakur, with the Namacharya, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu descended on this planet to establish the Yuga Dharma of Harinam Sankirtan. Chanting the holy names of Krishna is the Yuga Dharma of this world, of this Yuga. And Mahaprabhu made Haridas Thakur Namacharya, and Namacharya Haridas Thakur is considering himself more insignificant than an insect, saying that my departure from this world makes no difference to this world, to this universe. I'm insignificant. But people who are in their old age, when they are about to die, they think, if I die, what will happen to my children? What will happen to my wife? What will happen to my husband? What will happen to my relatives? What will happen to my company? What will happen to the organization? Who are we to make any difference in anyone's life? And whatever difference we are making, positive difference we are making in others' lives, is only because of the empowerment given by Krishna. How can we take any credit for it? If a crow takes some plumes of peacock and tucks in its tail and says, I'm looking so beautiful. It's just making a fun of itself. We are like that. As Arjuna says, Tadvai dhanushtai shavah saraso sarato haryaste soham prathi nrupatayo yata anavanti sarvam kshanena tadabhuda sadisha diktam He says very clearly that whatever powers I had to fight in this Kurukshetra battle and defeat so many prominent warriors of this Kurukshetra battle, all those powers are coming to me from Krishna. And after Krishna left this material world, all my powers have become so useless and so I have become totally powerless. I am the same Arjuna, I have the same Gandiva bow, I have the same chariot, I have the same astras, arrows, I have the same horses, But I don't have the same power to even defeat even some insignificant cowherds also. The same warrior has defeated big celebrated warriors at the time, but he could not even defeat some cowherds after Krishna's departure. All my powers have become like oblations in ashes. All my powers have become so insignificant that they are like money created by the magic wand of a magician. They are like seeds sown in barren field, which will not produce any fruit or plant. So Arjuna felt completely depleted of all his powers. All the powers are dependent on Krishna. If Arjuna's power is dependent on Krishna, what about our power? Whatever power we have. We may be great leaders or singers or speakers or deity worshippers or managers. All the power is given by Krishna. Whatever credit we have is that we chose to utilize the power given by Krishna in his service. That's our credit. Somehow we have some desire or some inclination to utilize what Krishna has given us in Krishna's service, offering Ganges water back to Ganga. That's the only credit we have. Nothing else. Our powers are not ours. They are meant for Krishna. But most conditioned souls in this material world utilize the powers or talents or skills or resources or money or manpower that Krishna has given to them to serve their own selfish purposes, to enjoy sense gratification, selfish purposes. But somehow, by the grace of Guru, Krishna and Acharyas and sadhus around us, we developed some desire to utilize what we have in Krishna's seva. That's the only credit we have. Nothing else. We have no other credit. And for that desire, you know what? How Krishna will reciprocate? He will give us love of God. He will give us Krishna Prabhu. He is giving us powers. He is giving us talents and money and manpower and resources and so many skills, so many things He has given us. Hands and legs and eyes and nose, etc. Everything He has given us. Right? And we utilized whatever we have given, whatever we have been given, we are utilizing some of it, little bit of it to Krishna, for Krishna's service. Most of the times, our resources and talents we are using for ourselves, for our personal maintenance, right? Little bit we allocate for Krishna. Krishna becomes so grateful for it. He gives love of Godhead. He gives Krishna Prema for it. Who is more humble here? Krishna is not like, I have given him. Sometimes when he preaches to somebody, I have given him Kantimala. He doesn't understand. I have recommended him for initiation. I taught him Bhagavad Gita. I'm his Bhakti Shastri teacher. He doesn't know ABCD also. I taught him Bhagavad Gita. There's so much of ego. There's so much of sense of accomplishment or achievement just because we inspired a couple of people to chant Hare Krishna. Mantra did we create? We have invested their potency in the mantra. Krishna has invested. Krishna has given that power into His holy names, and we have been given that powerful holy name. We are informing this to others. How can we take credit for it? The power of mantra is not ours. Mantra itself is powerful. So humility is required in every walk of life. Otherwise, we cannot survive in spiritual life, we cannot progress in spiritual life. Our advancement and our satisfaction and our progress in spiritual life is completely dependent on how humble we are. How much we realize we are insignificant. One more thing, I was saying sometime back that a part of humility, a facet of humility is to be malleable with the Lord's will. Pandavas were so malleable with Krishna's will. If Krishna wants them to undergo Vanavas, they will undergo. You may think that Duryodhan has organized or is the cause of the Vanavas of Pandavas. You may think like that. Yeah. From one perspective, that is true. Yes, it is because of Duryodhan Pandavas had to go to the forest. But ultimately speaking, Pandavas, what is their perspective? They have accepted it as Krishna's will. Why would Krishna desire any difficulties for the Pandavas like this? Exile for the Pandavas. Is it Krishna's desire really to have Pandavas lose their Indraprastha kingdom, operate Indraprastha kingdom and then walk on the in the streets or forests? In one sense, yes. Because that exile period is very important for us to understand so many lessons. It's just a small phase in Pandava's life. They lived for several years, maybe a century or so or more than that. At least Krishna's age is 125. Arjuna is similar in age. Arjuna is also 125 years. And Bhima is maybe a little elder. Nagaraja is maybe a little older. At least more than a century they lived. And only 30 years they were in the forest. 12 years in the forest, but that little duration, which is hardly some 8-9% of their life, has given us so many lessons. And the foremost of all the lessons is how a devotee does not lose faith in Krishna despite experiencing hundreds and thousands of troubles in personal life. Generally, when some calamity happens, some unexpected event happens in our lives, we lose faith in Krishna. But you are devotees, don't lose faith in Krishna. To announce that faithful attitude of a devotee, Krishna has to arrange this vanavas in their lives. And that all the calamities that these devotees underwent brought out their humility, and out of humility they are showing their gratitude to Krishna. Kunti Mata says, Vishan Mahatmeha Purushada Darshanat Asatsabhaya Vanavasa Kritsrataha Mridhe Neka Maharathastrato Draunyastratastasma Hare Bhirakshita. If Krishna has not given them difficulties, we will not be hearing Krishna, Kunti Mata's prayer now. Right? So difficulties will make us humble. And the difficulty should make us grateful also. Because during the difficulty, Krishna gives us the physical and mental and inner strength to tolerate the difficulties, and we are grateful to Krishna for equipping us with that difficulty, with that tolerance during the difficulty. And Krishna is announcing through us to the whole world how my devotee is very faithful to me. He doesn't lose faith in me. He doesn't lose hope in me. He accepts even misery as my mercy. And it's a great preaching. Krishna is preaching through the Pandavas. And of course, Krishna is also filtering unqualified people from the path of bhakti. When people see Pandavas underwent so many difficulties and they are devotees of Krishna. I think I should not worship Krishna. Whoever thinks like that will be filtered out. And Krishna says, I don't want this. Like the broadening of middle ages for whatever time they are. So Krishna is also doing a filtering program. He is doing preaching also. He is glorifying the faithful attitude of Pandavas. He is announcing how faithful a devotee is even during calamities. At the same time, Krishna is also trying to filter unqualified people. We don't want headaches. Right? So, humility is to align with the will of the Lord. Sarathya parishada sevana sakhyatautya Virasanamagamanastavana pranama Snigdheshu pandushu jagat pranatim cha Vishnu Bhaktim karoti nrupatischaranara vinde. Sarathya, Krishna played the role of a Sarathi. Parishata is receiving Agra Puja. Sevana Sakhya Dotya, he is acting like a messenger. Now you see, if Pandavas have not gone to Vanavas, would there be a situation where Krishna had to become their messenger and take their message to Duryodhana on their behalf? There would not be such a situation. There is no need for such a situation to arise. Isn't it? So, when Krishna orchestrated this Vanavas for the Pandavas, this great difficulty for the Pandavas, later Krishna rendered menial service to them by acting as their messenger, by acting as their driver of Arjuna, to demonstrate to all of us that Krishna loves his devotees. Krishna can do any kind of menial services to his devotees. And Kunti Mata says, Krishna, we are very, very grateful to you for arranging all these calamities. Vipataha Sankutaha Shashvat Tatra Tatra Jagat Guru Bhavato Darshanam Yisyada Punar Bhavadarshanam. Let there be more and more calamities. Let my son Bhima be poisoned once again. Let our house be set on fire once again. Let my daughter-in-law be insulted once again. Not that she's actually loving all these calamities, literally. But the calamity was giving an opportunity to Mother Kunti to see Krishna, and they're very grateful for it. That's so humble. They're not demanding, what mistake did we do? Whenever some calamity happens in somebody's life, I have not harmed even one ant also. Why is Krishna doing this to me? That's a general question, typical question, common dialogue in many cases. But we empathize with their problems, we sympathize with their conditions, and at the same time, we should also desire and help them equip themselves with the necessary maturity to see misery as mercy of Krishna. And that's what Bhagavatam is repeatedly teaching us. And only when there is humility, we can do that. Humility is the source of this realization. Only humble devotees can see misery as mercy of Krishna. Otherwise they demand, they expect Krishna to act the way they want Krishna to act. They expect Krishna to orchestrate certain situations in their lives. Why should Krishna be obliged? But humble devotees accept the life the way it comes. And of course they try their best to avoid calamity, but despite all their human abilities, human attempts, still some calamity comes, they will accept it. That is humility. Humility is to accept the will of the Lord. Another facet of humility is, even if you are so talented, you are asked to keep quiet. Will you be keeping quiet? For example, during the Samudra Manthan Leela, the Devatas and the demons tried to lift the Mandara mountain, and somehow they could not lift. Their limbs were broken, they fell down. Some of them completely lost their consciousness and lost their lives also. Then Lord Vishnu came on the back of Garuda, lifted Mandara mountain. It's like Krishna lifted Govardhan mountain, Vishnu lifted Mandara mountain, kept it on the back of Garuda, and he brought this mountain to the shore of Milk Ocean, and Lord Vishnu said, out, you can't stay here. Garuda, your job is to do door delivery or ocean delivery, beach delivery of this Mandara mountain. You can't see Samudra Manthan. For the first time in the entire universal time, universal history, the Devatas and demons are doing a collaborative effort of churning the Milk Ocean. And here is Garuda deprived of that opportunity to see that, to witness that out. Why? Vasaki is going to come. Is there any protest on the part of Garuda? He humbly said, "Okay, my dear Lord, whatever service you want me to do, I will do." Sometimes we feel very disheartened and sidelined and left out and broken-hearted when we are not involved in something that we wish to be involved. We think that it is my right to be informed about this. But when we are neglected, of course, there is nothing wrong in wanting to be informed, but we need to introspect. Is the desire to know that coming from my deep service attitude or my ego or identities, material identities? We need to question all this. And if it is coming from the depths of our material identifications, then it's very unhealthy. But if you want to serve, you would like to be informed so that you can contribute to that service, you don't miss the opportunity to serve, that's a different thing. That's not the thing. But sometimes there's an ego. How can they do this without informing me? There's an identification towards one's power and position and experience or talents and skills and whatever influence. They didn't acknowledge the greatness. Like, there is one personality in Srimad Bhagavatam who violated all these four principles that Mahaprabhu is teaching. Darshan. So Darshan entered the sacrificial arena and he was not at all humble, seeing Lord Shiva. Right? There is no humility, and when Shiva did not get it, there is no tolerance. And he is expecting respect from Shiva, and he is not respecting Shiva. He is not respecting anybody. All the palaces in, assembly, residents of the sacrificial assembly, they were requesting him, please stay back, you are the prominent Prajapati, your presence is required for the sacrifice. He's so egoistic, he said, I will not stay. Right? He's not at all respecting the entire assembly. He was even criticizing Brahma. This Brahma has instructed me to give my doe-eyed daughter to this monkey-eyed rascal Shiva. Otherwise I would not have married. I would not have got my daughter married to this Shiva. He was so arrogant, so self-centered, so critical of his father also. So, when we are very self-centric and very egoistic, then we don't respect others and we expect respect for ourselves. And we cannot, there is no possibility of chanting the holy names of Krishna. Hanumanji is such a powerful warrior. In Ramayana he did so much seva. But in Mahabharata, what seva was given to him? He was told, just sit on the flag of Arjuna, keep blessing him. And whenever Bhima rose, you join him and start. And Hanuman said, okay, this is my service, okay, we do this. Sometimes our service, we may be doing big services, but sometimes the service that we get is to sit in a corner and then play karta. Or even not even that also. We should be willing to do that. Whether it is big or small, if that is what Vaishnavas have given us, if that is the position that Krishna has given us, we should be willing to accept it. We should be happy for it. So, these are some principles of humility that are repeatedly being taught in Srimad Bhagavatam and to the examples of so many exalted devotees. And by the way, one caution note at the end. Humility and tolerance does not mean we allow ourselves to get exploited by others unnecessarily. We should fight for what is right. Krishna taught Arjuna to tolerate. Matra sparshastakam kaunteya sitoshna sukha dukkha. Remember 2.14? Forget 2.47. Prabhu will be angry with me. So, matra sparshastakam kaunteya sitoshna sukha dukkha agama payino nityaha tamsatikshasva bharata. So, Krishna taught him, tolerate happiness and distress, tolerate heat and cold, but don't tolerate injustice. Arjuna said, I will tolerate all the atrocities done by Duryodhana, Dushas and Karna Sagni, let me tolerate. You are teaching me, right? Tarorapi Saishnana, I will be Tarorapi Saishnana. Krishna said, no, that is not Tarorapi Saishnana. I mean, you don't have to tolerate in that way. My instruction to you now is, don't tolerate injustice. For that, Arjuna has to keep aside his own personal emotions and work for the pleasure of Krishna. See, tolerance means you should tolerate your urges or your desires, your temptations, your allurements, your excitements and align with the will of Krishna. Sometimes people may think that Arjuna was Tarorapi Saishnana, Krishna spoiled him. Arjuna was Pranadapi Sunichana, Krishna spoiled him. Arjuna was respectful to his great-grandfather Bhishma and teacher Drona, and Krishna did not allow him to respect. Right? Krishna is teaching Arjuna. On one hand he says, Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mamarusmar vidhaja. He says, Kirtani sadahari, sadatam kirtayantamam, he says. Arjuna says, yes, I will do sadatam kirtayantamam, I will not fight. No, fight. Right? So Krishna is making him violate the first 3 lines of this shloka while simultaneously instructing him last line. Satatam kirtayantamam, kirtane sadahari. It seems very tricky. But humility is not just choosing to tolerate what we want to tolerate. Not choosing to be humble in front of those people whom we think are great. Not choosing to respect those people whom we like. Not choosing to be disrespected by people whom we adore. Choosing to align with Krishna's will. That is humility. For Arjuna, even if he has to compromise on his quote-unquote so-called respect for Bhishma and Drona, he has to compromise it. Right? So, Humility also lies in not tolerating injustice. Because Drona stood on the side of adharma, it was Arjuna's responsibility as a part of his service to Krishna to confront even Bhishma, confront even Drona. How can they stand on the side of adharma, on the side of Duryodhana? So fighting against them as a part of service to Krishna is humility. Humility is not to allow ourselves to get exploited unnecessarily. That is not humility, that's not necessarily humility. Humility is to uphold dharma in all circumstances. For that, even if you have to fight with somebody who deserves to be fought with, humility is to align with Krishna's will. Humility is not to show off our dharmic tendencies, but knowing that dharmam to sakshat bhagavat praditam. So dharma is whatever is ordained by Krishna. Similarly, respecting, tolerating, all these are a part of this big lesson on humility. We can go through the other details. I will not elaborate so much. But we have seen multiple facets of humility. But all these multiple facets of humility are ultimately based on one principle that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and in comparison to him, I am insignificant. I am just a servant of Krishna. Whatever my service to Krishna requires, I will adopt that mood, I will adopt that activity. My moods and needs are in alignment with Krishna's expectations, Krishna's teachings, Krishna's service. That is humility. We need to mold ourselves in accordance with whatever Krishna wants us to do. That is humility. Not whatever is comfortable to our policy. Humility is not inferiority complex. Humility is not lack of self-respect. Humility is not lack of self-esteem, to speak it in modern terms. Humility is to understand our own glory, lies in identifying ourselves as servants of Krishna. That is humility. Jivya Swarupa hai Krishna Nityadas. If you acknowledge that reality, that we are servants of Krishna, that is humility. Okay. Then we will be able to chant the holy names of the Lord. Kirtaniya Sadahari is possible when we are humble, and based on that humility we tolerate. The Rorapi Saishnana, despite having the ability to retaliate, there is no retaliation on the part of Parikshit Maharaj, on the part of Chitraketu Maharaj and many other great souls. But sometimes if Krishna expects us to retaliate, we retaliate also. That's what Arjuna did. You may say Parikshit Maharaj's example and Arjuna's example are totally contrasting each other. Parikshit Maharaj accepted the curse and all the difficulties. And here is Arjuna, who was advised not to accept, fight back. Both are an expectation of Krishna. Parikshit Maharaj accepted it so that Bhagavatam can take birth. And Arjuna was confused. And so that we understand Bhagavad Gita. So even the confusion of great souls also will give us some great blessings. That's how Krishna utilizes people as instruments. Humility lies in acting as an instrument in Krishna's service. Let's very briefly describe the fourth shloka. So we have seen the third shloka. What are the four qualities that we need to cultivate to be able to chant the holy names of Krishna always and to destroy the misfortune of lack of taste in holy names? Right? Durdaivam idrisham iha jirinani ragaha. My Durdaivam, my misfortune is lack of taste in chanting. So how to cultivate the taste in chanting? And this is the process. Pranada Prasad. Mahaprabhu did not give big elaborate process of sadhana for us. He did not say do yajna, dana, tapa, this and renunciation, study Vedas. He did not say anything. Sadhana bhakti means to chant holy names of the Lord. Sadhana bhakti means to do Krishna Nam Sankirtan, Harinam Sankirtan, or Sri Krishna Sankirtan. And Sri Krishna Sankirtan's potency is described in the second shloka. And to be able to accept that potency, access that potency, we just need to do four things. Cultivate humility, respect, tolerance, and freedom from false prestige. That is the only abhidaya that he has given in one sense. Right? So, while adopting these favorable moods or favorable practices or favorable qualities for bhakti, we should also simultaneously avoid whatever is unfavorable to bhakti. That Mahaprabhu described in the 4th sloka. What is there in 4th sloka? Na dhanam, na janam, na sundarim, kavitam va jagadisha kamaya, mama janmani janmanishwari, bhavatar bhakti rahaitu ki. In this one shloka, Mahaprabhu describes 5 obstacles in bhakti. In the previous shloka, Mahaprabhu described 4 things that are favorable to bhakti. Now he will describe 5 things that are unfavorable to bhakti. You know what are they? Number 1, dhanam. Dhanam means wealth. What does it mean? All wealthy people are not devotees. All poor people are pure devotees. That's not what it means. Dhanam can be there, but we should have the humility to engage that dhanam in Krishna's service and not for sense enjoyment. So dhanam is one obstacle. If it is not utilized in Krishna's service, it is a great obstacle. Dhanam. Second is janam, followers, more intoxicating. More intoxicating than dhanam is janam. Third, sundari. Sundari is like attachment to opposite gender. Then 4th is kavitam. Kavita means praises, right? Beautiful praises. People are just praising that, oh, we are great, wonderful, wonderful. Right? Kavitam jagadisha kamaya. 5th is mama janmani janmanishwari. He says, I don't mind taking birth once again and again. If only I get an opportunity to do ahaitu ki bhakti unto you. So what does it mean? This also indicates there is no desire for liberation from the cycle of birth and death. So 5 obstacles in bhakti are: number 1, dhanam, attachment to wealth; number 2, janam, attachment to followers; number 3, sundari, attachment to opposite gender; then kavitama, praises, or kavitama can also refer to some karmakandic sections in the Vedas where high grade sense enjoyment is praised. In these karmakandic sections, that also can be part of kavitamba. Then mama janmani janmani means that is liberation, desire for liberation. So these 5 are obstacles in bhakti. So let's come to dhanam. When Narada Muni saw Nalakva and Manikriva just intoxicated with their wealth, because they are the sons of the greatest personality, greatest wealthy person, that is Kudera. Narada Muni saw them intoxicated by wealth, and because of wealth, they are also intoxicated by women and wine. WWW. Wealth, women, wine. They are attached to all these things. Internet, WWW. So Narada Muni said, Na hiyatonyah shi na hiyanyo joshato joshan buddhi bhramso I forgot. So nahiyanyo dushato josyan. Basically it means that there is no other intoxicating thing than wealth in this world. So these 4 prominent qualifications: Janma, Aishwarya, Shruta, Shri. Janma is high birth. Aishwarya is wealth. Shruta is education. Shri is beauty. So out of these 4 things, wealth is more intoxicating. If somebody has Aishwarya, even if he is not having a great janma, even if he has not taken birth in a very aristocratic family, somehow he can get the respect that even aristocratic people get. Those are born in very, very big dynasties, whatever respect they get, these people get because they have money. They can get respect from others through money. Then education. Even if they are uneducated, if they have wealth, many educated people will stand in queue respecting them, give me some job, give me some salary. Similarly, even if they don't have beauty, if they have wealth, many beautiful people from the opposite gender will come and then fall at their feet. Right? So wealth is most intoxicating. Aishwarya is most intoxicating than Janma and Shruta and Shri in this way. Because people value money. People work for money. More than beauty, they want money. More than education, they want money. More than aristocracy and great lineage, they want money. So, therefore Mahaprabhu says, Na dhanam, don't be attached to money. Don't be attached to wealth. Yes, wealth is required for our survival, for our livelihood, but we need to learn the art of utilizing that wealth in Krishna's service. If we don't know that art of utilizing wealth in Krishna's service, then that wealth could be one of the greatest obstacles in the path of bhakti, in the progress of bhakti. And don't worry, if you are attached to wealth and also chanting Hare Krishna, then Krishna will take away the wealth. I am not saying this, Krishna himself is saying this. Yasya aham anugrhanami harishye tadhanam shanaihi. Yasya aham anugrhanami. If I am especially pleased with someone or want to show some special mercy on someone, harishye means I will steal. Tadhanam, their wealth, shanaihi, gradually. So if you are attached to wealth, money, property, bank balance, then and also want to chant Hare Krishna, Krishna will say, you continue to chant, I will take away your wealth. Because this attachment is an obstacle. So choose your deity. Krishna is very tricky. And also, Avanti Brahman's example is there. He was attached to his wealth. Supposed to be a devotee, but he was attached to his wealth. What did Krishna do? Krishna made him deprived of all wealth. And ultimately he was bankrupt. He surrendered. I don't want. I cannot. There is no other shelter than you, O Lord. I am very grateful to you for taking all the Almighty. Because wealth was an obstacle in his bhakti. So dhanam. Then janam, followers. It's more intoxicating. Nowadays people are very much into janam, followers. How many followers I will have on my Instagram account? How many subscribers on the YouTube account? How many will click the bell icon? I never see where is the bell icon till now. Who will click the bell icon? Comment, like, share. You want channel, more followers, followers. So followers are very intoxicating. And many times people in this world follow us not out of love for us. Some people maybe they are genuine people, but many people follow us because they need something from us. We have something that they don't have. They want something that we have. Therefore they follow. Of course, we have to follow the acharyas. Mahajano yena gatasya pantha. When you are following an acharya, when you are following guru, when you are following Vaishnavas, devotees, that will take us to Krishna. But if you are following those who are popular in the material circles, if their fame, if their wealth, if their beauty, if their any material qualification becomes a reason for us to follow them, we are following Maya. We are simply following Maya. But if their bhakti is a reason for us to follow them, we are going to Krishna. So we need to choose our role models. I keep saying this to the younger generation very much. Choose your role models. Many youngsters, teens especially, they are into social media and they keep following. One person follows 400 accounts or 1000 accounts. Why? Because these people whom they are following, they provide some content for their Sanskrit education. Not many are inspiring or positive. Definitely not spiritually enlivening, most of them. But they are providing some sense enjoyment, some sense gratification. Or at least they are trying to see themselves in them. I cannot do it, at least this person is doing it. They are identifying themselves in them. As I said sometime back, maybe in one of the previous sessions, this whole life we imagine to be a movie where we are the central character. I is the central character. I am the central character. I want to do this, I want to do it. And when we cannot do something, when someone else is doing it, we try to see ourselves in them. Whenever people watch movies, most people who are watching that movie, sitting in the audience, they identify themselves with the hero the most, the prominent character the most. Right? Because they see themselves in him. Therefore, people when they are following different accounts, whether it is Instagram or Facebook or YouTube or whatever other things are there, and they're following. They follow those people who are giving them some sense enjoyment or who are doing something that they desire to do. Right? That's how they just make their role models. But unfortunately, these so-called role models will not take us to Krishna. That's the reality of life. So choose whom are you following. And sometimes by imitating others, or just to get, that is like following others. But now another intoxication nowadays is we want followers. We want followers. Nowadays when you ask people, they don't say we want to become engineers or doctors or some other profession they take up. They say we want to become life coaches. We want to become social media influencers. Right? Influencer is a buzzword nowadays. Right? We want to influence people. They themselves don't have a positive influence in their own lives, many of them. But they want to influence others. By what? By grabbing the attention of people. Right? Followers, trying to make followers for themselves means grabbing their attention. But when a devotee does it, it's grabbing attention towards Krishna, grabbing attention to Shastra, grabbing attention to spiritual subject matters. But while doing so, even if a practicing devotee also has an intention to grab followers for oneself, grab people's attention towards oneself, that's a great obstacle in bhakti. Pujala pratishtha. Yes, while you are trying to make Krishna popular, you may get some popularity. What to do? For example, you are taking this scented oil and applying on the deity's body nicely. Right? You have that's one of the upacharas. They are worshipping Saligram or Govardhan Shila or the deities of Radha Krishna or Gauranga, especially on Abhishek days, whether it is daily Abhishek or festival Abhishek, you apply scented oil, fragrant oil. During Chandan Yatra time, we apply Chandan. So when you are applying Chandan or fragrant oil on the deity's body, your hand also will become fragrant. Right? Some Chandan sticks to your hand also. Some oil sticks to your hand also. But what is the intention of the pujari? Oh, let me apply oil. I will get some oil. Let me apply oil on the deity's body. I will also get some oil. Actually, what is the intention of the pujari? Really, pujari has absolutely no intention to enjoy the fragrant oil. He just wants to offer it to the Lord. Right? Similarly, as a preacher, if you are trying to spread Krishna consciousness, when you are singing the holy names of the Lord or you are speaking the glories of Krishna, some attention comes to you also. Our primary intention is to grab people's attention to Krishna. While you are doing so, some attention falls on you also. But if we don't transfer that attention towards Krishna, if we enjoy the attention that we are getting, if we enjoy the followers that we are getting, if we enjoy the respect and the adoration that we are receiving for ourselves, that's the greatest distraction in bhakti. Right? So we need to give all the attention towards Krishna. Whatever praise we are getting, divert it to Krishna, Guru, Vaishnavas, whoever has helped us in devotional service. Whatever claps we are getting, whatever visits we are getting, whatever fans we are getting, divert them to Krishna. You are not my fans, you are fans of Krishna. Divert them to Krishna, Guru, Shastra. So, followers are very intoxicating. And nowadays, especially in this age of Kali, in 2025, and many years, many more decades to come, so intoxication for followers. I was reading somewhere, somebody made a reel and posted on some social media account. He got 23,000 views. He committed suicide. So poor views. Nobody is watching my content. I have put so much of my emotions and energy into this, and hardly anyone is liking and sharing and seeing it. 23K. I was expecting 2 million views, 10 million views. You say he had to die because of the obsession for followers. Obsession for followers. And many times people also follow powerful people out of fear. Oh, if I don't follow him, what will happen to me? Right? It's an obligation for something. Many people follow Hiranyakashipu, not out of love. So many people followed Kamsa, not out of prema. Why? He may harm us. That's the followership in this material world. But when somebody is following for a spiritual purpose, an acharya, spiritual life means to follow in the footsteps of the acharyas, footsteps of Mahajans, footsteps of great, pure Vaishnavas who loved Krishna. Adhanam Bhajanam. Then Sundari. Sundari means opposite gender. This is not, it's Sundari for men, it is Sundar for women. Both. It's not meant only for men. So even both genders, when they are attached to opposite gender unduly for material attraction, material sense gratification, that's their obstacle in bhakti. Therefore Mahaprabhu is a Sundari. So devotee is someone who is very self-controlled, not attached to the beautiful form of the opposite gender. What is the form? What is this material body? It's just a bag of flesh, bones, blood, urine, mucus, bile. You can just remove this 1 mm layer, half mm layer. What's inside? We can't even differentiate between who is who. Sometimes, unfortunately, in India, when you are just moving in certain localities, you will see so many dead bodies hanging. The goats or hens are there hanging, right? Their skin is removed, they are just hanging. People just go and say, give me 1 kilo, give me 10 kilos, give me 3 kilos. I want to eat it, I want to eat this flesh, I want to eat this dead body. Actually, human beings, let's talk about human beings, their bodies are also like that only. Bag of flesh, bones, urine, mucus, stool, blood, bile, that's all. So, the attraction towards the sundarata or the beauty of the opposite gender is nothing but attraction towards a bag of blood, bag of bones and bag of flesh. Right? And whenever somebody wants to enjoy with the opposite gender, they are just having 2 handfuls of flesh in their hands. That's what Bhagavatam very graphically describes in the 9th canto and even in 11th canto through Ailagita. Actually, whenever we see the form of opposite gender as a source of personal enjoyment, we are disrespecting them. And we are disrespecting ourselves also. The greatest respect one can give to anyone else or oneself is to identify oneself as a servant of Krishna. When we see another person as just a form or bag of flesh, nicely packed in bright skin, bright layer of skin, then it is just disrespecting that soul. That is a part and parcel of Krishna, the personality, the soul who is present within this bag of flesh. It's in a very awkward situation. Supposed to be in a spiritual form, in the spiritual world, serving Krishna, having a personal connection with the Supreme Lord in some rasa, but somehow entrapped in this bag of flesh, thinking of themselves as flesh, thinking themselves as body. So that scene, that perspective illuminates our conscience, supposed to illuminate our consciousness with daya, not kama, right? Daya, compassion. Whenever a compassionate devotee sees the bodies of other people, desire for sense enjoyment will not come. Deep compassion will come. Supposed to be in spiritual forms and rotting in this material body. How long will they be entrapped in this material form? Thinking themselves as bodies and trying to maintain these bodies so much. So there should be compassion. That's the vision of Acharyas. That's the vision of Prabhupada, vision of so many great Vaishnavas. They see people as servants of Krishna and they are compassionate on people who are identifying themselves as bodies. That is the real love and compassion that we show on others. That's the real prema that we have towards other living beings. But when the consciousness is pure, the prema becomes kama. When this prostitute came to Haridas Thakur to pollute him, to defame him, to destroy his reputation, you know that? This Ramachandra Khan, being envious of Haridas Thakur, had sent a prostitute to pollute Haridas Thakur. How did Haridas Thakur see this beautiful young lady in the middle of the night, when nobody is around, in a secluded place? How did he see her? He saw her as a spirit soul. He saw her as a servant of Krishna. Servant of Krishna, supposed to be pure devotee of Krishna, rotting in this material body, in this material form, thinking that she's enjoying doing this kind of profession, abominable profession, and also acting as an instrument in the will of Ramachandra, who is an envious person. Haridas Thakur did not feel hatred towards her, did not feel disgust towards her, felt compassion towards her. Right? Forget attraction. So when, depending on our consciousness, when we see the form of opposite gender, one response could be spirit of enjoyment, desire to enjoy. Second response could be disgust. Oh my God, they're coming. Let me just run away. I want to protect myself. Right? The third could be hatred. Sometimes people even hate also opposite gender. Right? And the fourth is compassion. We need to bring them closer to Krishna. Of course, when we don't have the capacity, we can maintain safe distance. But Haridas Thakur felt that although she came to pollute me and defame me and destroy my reputation, I must give her Krishna now. I must bring her closer to Krishna. With that intention, Haridas Thakur extended his stay in Banapur. Otherwise, the very moment he saw, he felt that Ramachandra Khan was trying to send this prostitute. On that very day, he wanted to leave that place, but he did not leave. You know what happened in 3 days? She came and saw Haridas Thakur chanting, and then she became transformed, she became a pure Vaishnavi. Then after 3 days, Haridas Thakur revealed to her, I was about to leave this place 3 days back, but I stayed here only for your sake. Only to bring you closer to Krishna, only to transform you. I stayed here for 3 days. Now I am leaving this place. The place where I am chanting now, you take this place, you chant here. You plant a tulsi leaf, you distribute all the wealth that you have accumulated with sinful means, and then sit here and chant. And she became such a great pure Vaishnavi that many Vaishnavas come for her darshan, come for her blessings. Although she has been a prostitute at one point. This is how one needs to deal with Sundari. Right? So, Sundari is not meant for one's enjoyment, but if they are not yet devotees, then they are an object of compassion. Definitely not misplaced compassion, but compassion. Right? Compassion is to bring them closer to Krishna. And if they are already devotees, offer obeisances. Another Sundari, Urvasi. So she proposed to our Arjuna. Arjuna said, you are my mother. Right? So, devotees have that self-control. Na dhanam, na janam, na sundarim, kavitamba. Don't be attracted to praises or different sections of the karmakandic sections of the Vedas that praise high-grade enjoyment in the heavenly planets. Many people even now also, they follow certain rituals or so-called spiritual practices or circumambulate around temples or trees or etc. only for high-grade enjoyment. Because you do this vrata, you will get this. Follow this vow, you will get this material prosperity. Do this austerity, you will get some good rank in the exam, or you will become successful in your business. You will be able to defeat your enemies. So many things. Kavitamba. Praises of high grades enjoyment and proposals to how to get it. Then Mama Janmani Janmani Ishtarai. Morning we discussed it briefly. Devotee doesn't desire liberation. Desire for liberation is another obstacle. Bhukti Mukti Siddhi Kami Sakali Ashanta. Krishna Bhakta Nishkama Atayeva Shanta. So, whenever there is a desire for liberation, the desire for liberation is an obstacle. Great obstacle. Devotees, even after seeing the Supreme Lord, they are not asking for liberation. They are asking for an opportunity to hear Krishna Katha in the association of the devotees. What we are doing now for the last 1.5 hours, 15 minutes, is what great devotees, pure devotees are aspiring for, even after having the personal darshan of the Lord. After seeing the Lord, they said, "O Lord, please give us the association of devotees and allow us to relish Krishna Katha in the association. Kutu Maharaj. Srinvanti Gyayanti Grananti Bhishna Sahasmaranti Nandanti Kavihitanti Nahantanti Maharaj asked the same thing. And Lord Shiva asked the same thing, Prachetas asked the same thing, Dhruva Maharaj asked the same prediction, Prahalad Maharaj asked the same prediction. So many people are asking the same prediction. We want to hear Krishna Katha in the association of devotees, we want to serve them. So this is the purpose of life. Bhavatat bhakti rahayituki tvayi ahayituki bhakti is the aspiration of a pure Vaishnava or an aspiring Vaishnava. Ahayituki bhakti, not dhanam, not janam, not sundari. We can accept all this as long as they are favorable to bhakti. Dhanam is required. Dhanam is good. Followers are great. Madhavendra got so many followers overnight. Why? Kirtan Gopinath has stolen one pot of sweet rice for him. Madhavendra got so many followers, and by the time he reached Jagannath Puri, his fame already reached. And they are welcoming him. Come, what do you want? We want to serve you. Then immediately Madhavendra Puri said, just give me some chandan. I want to apply it to Gopal's body. So if you get followers, if you get fame, if you get reputation, utilize that in Krishna's service. Not for one's own service, utilize in Krishna's service. That's what we need to do. Fame is not bad, Sundari is not bad, Kavita is not bad, and what else? Dhanam is not bad. But we only should have the ability and inspiration to utilize it in Krishna's service. So these are a few thoughts on these two shlokas. Sorry, I went a little bit of time. But what to do? I have to complete this shloka at least. Thank you very much. Sri Caitanya Shikshastakam ki jai Sri Prabhu. As Yugnajiva Prabhu said, this is like last public class. Tomorrow we have some closing Bhakti Workshop. Okay? So today is the last public class, at least in this visit to Melbourne. I am very, very grateful to all the devotees here for your love and affection, especially for your enthusiasm to hear Krishna Katha. And especially I must congratulate you and express my gratitude towards you for raising all your children in a Krishna conscious way, sitting and making notes, all these young kids hearing Krishna Katha, sitting for 1 hour and 1 hour first classes early in the morning also, now also. So the way you are training your children is very, very inspiring and enlivening, and setting a role model, an example for many, many devotees to raise their children in a Krishna conscious way. And on top of it, you yourself are very loving and caring for each other, and very, very happy and grateful and humbled to be amongst all of you last 1 week or 8 days, 1 week. So tomorrow it will be 8 days. So thank you so much. If there are any mistakes, shortcomings from my side, in my service to you, kindly forgive me. And I need your sincere blessings and prayers for my continued survival in Bhakti, without any distractions or deviations or pride especially. So I just beg for your blessings and conclude this session. We will not take any questions, it's already almost 9:10. Thank you very much. Sri Caitanya Shikshastakam ki jai Sri Prabhu.
Jai.